Mental Alchemy and the Art of Neutralization. My friends, we're taking some of the Hermetic laws from the Kybalion, namely the law of polarity and the law of rhythm, and we are learning how to apply these into our life. Apply these so that we may become master of our inner reality and its manifestation into the outer world. This is a follow-up, a continuation of the last video I made on fields of consciousness. Right, and accessing the inner magic. This is a keynote that's really important, and we're about to dive in. So, hell yeah, my friends, hit that like button, drop any time codes where you really found something powerful, and please share this message with someone you think it will impact. Also, if you want to get in touch with me, if you want to talk with me one-on-one, there's a link in the description for a free discovery call. I love meeting brothers and sisters out there, and let's do this thing. First off, the law of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. The law of polarity. So the law of polarity, my friends, is stating that everything is on a vibrational spectrum and has two poles, okay? There's darkness and then there's light. There's hot and then there's cold. Hot and cold aren't different things. They're in fact the same exact, they're the same thing at different rates of vibration at different ends of the spectrum. Where does hot end and cold begin? You can't really say. They're the same thing. It's the same thing with pride and shame. Courage and fear. They're the same exact emotions. It's why love, for instance, can turn so quickly into hate. Okay? They're the same exact emotion at different ends of polarity. Okay. Everything, this is really important for the mental alchemy that we're about to talk about. We're going to learn how to apply this, my friends. Again, really important keys here. I don't know anyone else talking about this on YouTube. I've been looking. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. The law of rhythm. Okay, the law of rhythm, my friends, is that you're born and you rise up, and then you have your peak. You have your summertime in your life, and then you start to fall in the fall. And then you die in the wintertime. The 4 seasons change, okay? The law of polarity is that the tides go in and then they go out. That all things ebb and flow. That one day you'll be feeling great and the next you might be feeling really down, right? You may be making a lot of money at this point in your life or none at all. And that changes. The degree that you swing to the left, like for instance, manic depressive people, okay? Swing really high into mania, right? And then they fall really deep into depression, and they have this vicious cycle. Okay. We're going to learn about mastering the cycles, the rhythms internally, so that we can master the rhythms externally. Okay. If we can learn how to regulate the internal environment and master the inner world, well, reality around us, the outer world, as within, so without. If we learn the internal keys and learn to apply it in our alchemical vehicle, we can learn how to alchemize with the world or affect the world in the ways we want to see. To those who don't understand the law of rhythm, right, they are a victim to it. Okay. The law of rhythm shows us there's a natural order to all things, that eventually all things come back around like how a pendulum swings. This is one law that if you do not learn how to master, it will master you. If you do not learn to master this law, my friends, you will be reacting to the lows and holding on to the highs. You will be like a puppet doll to life and the universal laws. Internally, right, you will be living out of integrity, out of alignment with the natural universal law. What this means is that when we allow ourselves to get caught up in life, it will manifest in our bodies as stress, sickness, and disease, and in our lives as chaos, negativity, disorder, and unhappiness. Furthermore, we will get continually locked into more of a base state of consciousness, Okay? Because we are in reaction, we are not in communion and openness with all life, but reacting and holding, and more so crystallizing a form, an identity, right? That is holding us away, that is separating us from our limitless potential up here. Okay, so we need to learn to master the law of rhythm and return to our infinite, limitless potential, or else we will be mastered by the ebbs and flows of life constantly, you know. By changing your polarity, you may master your moods, change your mental states, remake your disposition, and build up character. Much of the mental mastery of advanced Hermetics is due to the application of polarity, which is one of the important aspects of mental transmutation. Remember the Hermetic axiom. Mind, as well as all metals and elements, may be transmuted from state to state, degree to degree, condition to condition, pole to pole, vibration to vibration, the Kybalion. This is an important law, my friends. The mastery of polarization is the mastery of the fundamental principles of mental transmutation or mental alchemy. Mental alchemy, my friends, is the process of transforming base states of consciousness into higher, more noble states of consciousness, the lead to gold internally. For unless one acquires the art of changing his own polarity, he will be unable to affect his environment. An understanding of this principle will enable one to change his own polarity as well as that of others, if he will but devote the time, care, study, and practice necessary to master the art. The principle is true, but the results obtained depend upon the persistent patience and practice of the student. The Kybalion. Rhythm may be neutralized by an application of the art of polarization. So, my friends, in this video, we're going to talk about two ways of mental alchemy, two approaches here: neutralization and polarization. Okay, let's start with polarization. Okay, right before we get into the principle of polarization and then neutralization, real quick here, just a reiteration of the principle of rhythm and why we must apply it. To apply this, we must be aware of this principle and not be bound to the eternal struggle of the highs and lows of life. Okay, we must not be bound to the eternal struggle of the highs and lows. Most people totally succumb to the principle of rhythm and have no control of their mental state. They're in constant reaction to distraction, I would say. They're in reaction to the effects of their life, not standing at the cause of thy life, which is the whole last video was about. They believe this is normal, and it is outside their awareness to think different. You can attain a level of mental fortitude where you are in a good state regardless of any situation and transcending duality. The ultimate state of living is to get to a level of loving, blissful equanimity. Okay. You see that yoga is the embodiment of the neutralization principle, the neutralization of the law of rhythm. We're going to get into that, and that is non-attachment and divine indifference. First off, though, to get into the principle of polarization here. To change your mood or mental state, change your vibration. Okay, how do we do that, Mr. Kybalion? One may change his mental vibration by an effort of will in the direction of deliberately fixing the attention upon a more desirable state. Will directs the attention, and attention changes the vibration. Cultivate the art of attention by means of the will, and you will solve the secret of mastery of moods and mental states. So first off, by directing our attention to a more desirable state, okay? That looks like, let's say you're feeling lethargic, lazy, and, dispassionate. You can direct your attention to a more desirable state. Imagine like feeling excellent, feeling in the flow state, feeling like you really want to share and really want to create. You can start imagining that, thinking that thought, especially if you get into the space of creation that I talked about in the last video, right? You can really start transforming your vibration through your attention. Attention creates your vibration, right? To destroy an undesirable rate of mental vibration. Mental vibration is the source of is literally the reflection and the source of your thoughts, the feelings, the state of being per se. Okay, all is mind, the Hermeticists. So when they say mental vibration, they literally mean the vibration of your being, the thoughts you're having, the feelings. To destroy an undesirable state, Put into operation the principle of polarity and concentrate upon the opposite pole to that which you desire to suppress. Kill out the undesirable by changing its polarity. Okay. This is very true, my friends, but we must be careful here. Oftentimes, I've seen a law of attraction community that when people are feeling down or they're feeling anger, they suppress that emotion, right? A lot of times in spiritual communities, we suppress or repress what we deem negative aspects of ourselves. Yes, there is alchemy to transmute any rate of vibration, but we must have wisdom, okay? Is this from a pattern that we're trying to transcend and dissolve? Is this just an old pattern of depression that I'm trying to let go of? Is this attached thoughts that lead me nowhere? Let's transmute those. But is this a deep feeling, an emotion, a notification coming up from the depths of my being trying to show me something? We must have discernment first, okay? But to destroy an undesirable rate of vibration, right? Focus on the opposite pole. So, if you possess fear, okay, my friends, I was just going through a recent breakup and, there was so much fear. Fear about being alone, fear about her and, attachments and anxiety, so much fear, right? Do not waste time trying to kill out the fear, but instead cultivate the quality of courage and the fear will disappear. You see, to the equal amount that you fear something, you have the equal reservoirs or resources of courage, equal and opposite, okay? So really, if the alchemist understands how to feed on darkness, he knows how to feed on the shadow per se. So if you're feeling fear, the alchemist goes into his deep fears, right? Finds his fear, okay? And then focuses on courage, okay? What is the quality of courage inside of me? What would courage say? How would fearlessness sit in this position and feel this fear fully? You cannot have courage without having fear, okay? And this is, mental emotional alchemy going on right here. So I sat on that mountaintop feeling all the fear of this relationship, right? And then after a time of feeling it, letting that move through me and just handling the emotion itself, we'll talk about that in a second, right? I cultivated the quality of courage and was courageous towards my destiny, towards that image I have, that aspiration of solar glory, to living into, I know that spirit, all of this is happening for a reason. I know that I'm taken care of. I am excited to take on life in a brand new way. I cultivated this quality of courage. I started coaching myself into courage, right? And that fear transmuted into courage, right? You created a new vibration. You went to the opposite side, okay? So that's the art of polarization. That's an art of mental alchemy right there, okay? And this applies to everything. If you're feeling low and attached to something, find freedom in your expression. Find internal freedom, right? If you're really attached to an old person, right? To polarize that, think about how much you love yourself and being alone, right? See, this is an art, my friends. As I said before, it's an art, and you got to practice this. You need to learn the nature of polarities so that you can you can intelligently direct the course of your internal, world and internal well-being. Now, the principle of rhythm, right? To apply this, we must become aware and not be bound to the eternal struggle of the highs and lows. Okay, there's highs and then there's lows. And most people are reacting to the highs, right, and resisting the lows. Therefore, they fall out of alignment with universal law. They fall out of alignment with their dharma. They start resisting life, and slowly life begins to fade in color. Life isn't so full and tasteful. You start losing the polarities, right? And yeah, it's not a good deal, okay? What we must do is learn to dance in divine indifference, okay? In yoga, there's a principle of non-attachment, okay? And non-attachment means enjoying, in the Yoga Sutras, there's some beautiful passages about this, okay? Enjoying things as they come and enjoying things just as much as they go. Not identifying with anything you own, seeing it all as it's in transition. Your relationships with everything. Everything is a relationship. Everything is a relationship. And it goes up and it goes down, right? And it's learning to not identify, not attach to anything in your reality. Practicing non-attachment in meditation as a way of living is like, wow, you know, the money's going down today. Cool. That means it's going to go up later in the future. You know, like, you know, like my this relationship is on the rocks right now. Well, okay, I'm not attached to that. If it goes, it's gonna go beautifully and open up something gorgeous into my life, a beautiful new horizon. Or it's going to rise back up again. I need not fret. Think about how much of your time, my friends, is spent fretting and, you know, resisting and reacting to the lows, the ebbs and flows of life, right? All of a sudden things go up and you get really excited, and then you get really attached to that new status, that new watch, that new car, right? And then the car gets a scrape on it, you know, and then you're reacting again, and then you're just at the mercy of the law of rhythm, right? So we must cultivate a quality of non-attachment. Non-attachment to outcomes, non-attachment to possession. How we do that, my friends, is through the eyes of the seer. Through the eyes of the seer we do this, okay? The seer versus the seen. The seen is everything that we see and possess. Our body, our thoughts, our emotions, what you think your purpose is, that's all seen. That's all changing. Like your thought and perspective outlook yesterday was so different than today, a year ago, 4 years ago. How about the things in your life, the environment around you, the people around you? Constantly in flux, okay? If we are identified with the world, with the seen, we will be at the mercy of the law of rhythm, at the mercy of it, okay? So we must identify with the seer. Going back into my last video on the space of creation, please watch that video, right? Maybe after this one. I talked a little bit about attachments and how they lock us into a paradigm. The more we are identified with the seen world, the more we are cut off from our power of creation, because we are attached to form. Only from formlessness, right, can new manifestations arise. Only with space can a manifestation enter your life, right? Only from the seer can we truly create. You know, if we're living in the seen world, we are trying to combat or adjust material with material. But from the seer, we can access the causal plane and divine indifference. Divine indifference to me looks like, you can go listen to the song Khan, Khan, by Trevor Hall. It's all about divine indifference in a way. And divine indifference is like, you know, even in the highs and the lows, understanding and observing and having awareness that the spirit is dancing behind it all, that the lows are there for you to learn and grow through, to understand these laws, to understand yourself, that the highs are but fleeting things and we can smile at them, we can fully enjoy them without attaching to them. Divine indifference is like, you know what? Like, go read the subtle art of not giving a fuck. That's divine indifference. Divine indifference to that which truly doesn't matter. That's going to go up and down. How many likes you get on Instagram? Is that worrisome to you? You know, like how well you worked out today, like goes up and down. How you're feeling today. We cannot be ruled by that. We cannot be a victim to the world. The way to break through into higher consciousness, my friends. I'm going to draw again on the last video, and this is the Kybalion, the law of rhythm. Okay. The principle of rhythm is well understood by modern science and is considered a universal law as applied to material things. But Hermeticists carry the principle much further and know that its manifestations and influence extend to the mental activities of man, and that it accounts for the bewildering succession of moods, feelings, and other annoying, perplexing changes that we notice in ourselves. But the Hermeticists, by studying the operations of the principle, have learned to escape some of its activities by transmutation. Escaping the highs and the lows, the constant ebb and flow of life, this principle is mutable, meaning you can transcend it. Okay. The Hermetic masters long since discovered that while the principle of rhythm was invariable and ever in evidence in mental phenomena, still there was two planes of its manifestations, so far as mental phenomena are concerned. They discovered that there were two general planes of consciousness, the lower and the higher, the understanding of which fact enabled them to rise to the higher plane and thus escape the swing of the rhythmic pendulum which manifested on the lower plane. In other words, the swing of the pendulum occurred on the unconscious plane, and the consciousness was not affected. This is the law of neutralization. Its operation consists in the raising of the ego above the vibrations of the unconscious plane of mental activity, so that the negative swing of the pendulum is not manifested in consciousness, and therefore are not affected. It is akin to rising above a thing and letting it pass beneath you. The Hermetic master or advanced student polarizes himself at the desired pole, and by a process akin to refusing to participate in the backward swing, if you offer a denial of its influence over him, he stands firm in his polarized position and allows the mental pendulum to swing back along the unconscious plane. All individuals who have attained any degree of self-mastery accomplish this, more and less unknowingly, but by refusing to allow their moods and negative mental states to affect them, they apply the law of neutralization. Okay. The master, however, carries this to a much higher degree of proficiency, and by the use of his will, he attains the degree of poise and mental firmness almost impossible of belief on the parts of those who allow themselves to be swung backward and forward by the mental pendulum of moods and feelings. The importance of this will be appreciated by any thinking person who realizes what creatures of moods, feelings, and emotions the majority of people are, and how little mastery of themselves they manifest. If you will stop for a moment, you will realize how much these swings of rhythm have affected you in life. Okay, my friends. They discovered that there were two general planes of consciousness, the lower and the higher, and that by residing in the higher plane of consciousness, right, the tides of rhythm could pass back and forth, under them. It's like almost like the palm tree gently swayed in the wind, rather than, a hurricane per se. And accessing the higher consciousness, my friends, is literally everything I talked about in the last video. What this is about, my friends, is building a relationship with the seer, okay? Learning wisdom, to observe this reality through the eyes of wisdom and watch the ups and downs, not identify so much with the events of life, but witness them as the seer through the eternal eye. I like to think of it as the gently smiling eyes of the master, the eternal one inside, right? The more you can identify with him, the more you can access that heightened state of consciousness. Furthermore, to access that heightened state of consciousness, you need neutrality. Oh, wow. Who would have thought? The art of neutralization is about neutrality. Here's the thing, my friends, when it comes to neutrality. Neutrality dissolves reality. This is the art of neutralization to me. Is that, let's say we feel anxiety and fear about a performance, about a person, about our work and our business. Let's say we feel that fear, right? Neutrality looks like allowing that fear to be felt fully, but handling it on an energetic level and not reacting to it either plus or minus. You see, a reaction to that fear will create thoughts and emotions that reflect that fear, that reflect that polarity, right? And further create actions and distractions that keep you stuck in that pendulum swing of fear, right? Through neutrality, we can learn to handle the energy of the field, the energy of the emotion as it is, to let that emotion pass. But if we are fixed in the eyes of wisdom, we realize, this is just my mind playing games on me. This is just, the ups and downs of rhythm inside. I can reside. I can surrender to it. right? And feel what is. And through that feeling, I dissolve reality. I dissolve. You see, if you have a positive or negative reaction to that fear, you reiterate that paradigm of consciousness back to the self. You reiterate that back to the subconscious. But through neutrality, you can feel something, right? And let it go through you and not be affected by the ups and downs. When you react, you get immersed in the ups and downs because you are attached to something. You are attached to feeling a certain way, or you're reacting to feeling a certain way, right? So neutrality, okay, dissolves. But furthermore, through surrender to fully feeling the karma, which to me in a way is all the rhythms you haven't felt. All the rhythms that you signed up for through your contract of reaction and living in attachment to the world, right? You haven't felt those rhythms. Therefore, there are deeper emotions and chords inside of you that need to be purged. We need to surrender and feel what is, to allow ourselves to be as we are. And through that process of surrendering in faith, right, we slowly find acceptance. We find acceptance of what is, of the highs and the lows, right? This is quite this is quite intriguing, almost ironic, that through acceptance of the highs and the lows, through acceptance of exactly where you are and whatever you're feeling or facing, through that acceptance and the surrenderment of attachment to outcome, surrendering, attachment to a feeling, attachment to pain or pleasure, just fully surrendering, just keep on surrendering, and accepting the fears, accepting the rhythms. What happens is all of a sudden you enter into an open state of consciousness. Once you get to the bottom of it, which is actually the top, once you get to the bottom of things, you get to the top of things, okay? Once you get to the darkness, once you get to the void, through acceptance, you enter into the void, right? Which is where the true voice exists, where the true eyes see, where the true self is. The void. The void is consciousness. The void is consciousness. Everything you identify with, everything you feel, everything you think you are, is a glow, is a manifestation from the void. You see, from the darkness came the light. The void came first, right? So by accessing the void and seeing with the eyes of wisdom, or through the eyes of the seer, not identified with the seen, but identified with the seer, right? We access a state of heightened consciousness, of love consciousness, of love and will consciousness together, okay? Oftentimes we're being ruled by fear, shame, consumption, busyness, willfulness, desires, attachments, loss, despair. We're ruled by these things, right? Base centers of the body, base states of consciousness. But through surrendering and letting those purge out of you and just feeling where you are and holding fixed in the eyes of the seer, you access the void, okay? And this allows you to enter the space of creation and enter the heightened state of consciousness where you're no longer at the mercy of the ebb and flow of this world. And when you are no longer at the mercy of the ebb and flow of this world, you are no longer reacting to the ebb and flow of the internal world. When you are no longer reacting to the ebb and flow of the internal world, you are not reacting to the effects of the field of consciousness. When we're reacting to the effects of the circumstances of life or the effects of the internal state, right? Those are both effects. Those are changing. Those are on the manifested plane from the invisible. When we're identified with those, we're in reaction to distraction. We're trying to fix matter through matter. We are living in the world of effects, basically. We are living in the world ruled by the law of rhythm. Okay. To transcend that, we must access the eyes of the seer, the eyes of wisdom. And through practicing the art of polarization and neutralization, right, we can ascend to divine indifference. We can ascend to that state of heightened consciousness and learn to embody that always. This is the mark of the master, my friends. This is the mark of the Hermetic master, and really any tradition you look at, whether it's a yogi, whether it's a saint, whether it's a mage, whether it's an alchemist. They're accessing a state of consciousness of love, openness, and wisdom. Okay, that state of consciousness doesn't, like for most of us, love is something that we can get and lose. It's a feeling. It's something, it's attached to love, right? Love is not the way, like we maybe have had experiences of pure love, of relating to this world where through the eyes of love, relating to everything through love, relating to everything through compassion and openness, where it feels like nothing could, furl your sail per se, right? That's like almost like accessing that heightened state of consciousness where wisdom and love are yours, where all of a sudden you realize and are aware of all the magic around you because you're at a heightened state of consciousness to perceive it. That's where we're trying to go. But in order to do that, we must master the mental alchemy of the lower states of consciousness where we mostly exist, because that's our programmed field of consciousness is holding us down here. It's holding us at the base. So by applying mental alchemy, the art of neutralization and the art of polarization, right, as well as the knowledge and formula I shared in the last video on the space of creation and will be sharing in my upcoming masterclass, through doing this, we can learn how to access that heightened state of consciousness and become creators. Yep. That's Wu Wei, That's even-mindedness from Buddhism. That is samadhi from yoga, right? That is, it is openness with life. It is communion with the Tao. It is aliveness and abundance because you are in the creator. You are in the true I am, no longer identified with the effects. The more identified with the effects you are, the more at the mercy of life you are. The more at the mercy of the laws of rhythm you exist at. We must create that, that level of loving, blissful equanimity. This is the Law of Rhythm video, my friends. This is my master video on the Law of Rhythm and mental alchemy. Please hit that like button, share this video with someone you think it will impact, and also sign up for the Breath and Magic Masterclass. We'll be going through some of this and really just the formula for accessing a heightened state of consciousness and accessing the magic of your field of consciousness. Thanks for being here, my friends. I'll see you at the masterclass. Link below for that. And if you want to talk to me one-on-one, you can apply for a free discovery call. Link also in the description for that. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being you. Stay juicy, my friends. Peace.